right, this is your recording for lesson 25-4. We are going to talk about solving cube root functions, both algebraically and graphically. So first thing you need to do is turn in your Springboard book to page 397 so that you can follow along in your book. What you should see there on page 397 are the steps for algebraically solving cube root equations. So step 1, isolate the radical term. This is the exact same step 1 as with square root equations. Step 2, cube both sides of the equation. So the only difference between step 2 is before we were squaring and now we're going to cube. Again, it's vitally important that you pay attention to what type of radical equation you are solving, because if you square both sides when you're supposed to cube them, obviously you're not going to get the right answer. Once you've cubed both sides of the equation, then you'll take what remains and you will solve for the unknown. In most cases, that will be x. Now, I think you're really going to like cube root functions a lot better than square root. They are easier for two different reasons. One, notice there is no step 4. That is because for cube root functions, there is no possibility of extraneous solutions. So the check step you do not have to go through, because if you've solved correctly, the answer should work. So those are our 3 steps. That's one reason why it's easier, no extraneous solutions. The other reason why it's easier is because almost all of the time after step 2, the equation that's left is linear. So that means they're the short, easy type to solve rather than having to factor and all of that. So I think you will find this easier than what we did in 25-2. So example A here, they have a written out example there on page 397. You can see first thing they did was get the radical term, which is this cube root of 2x minus 1 by itself. So they added 5. Then they divided by 4, so they got this, cube root of 2x minus 1 equals 2. So then they did step 2, they cubed both sides. That gave you 2x minus 1 equals 8. Then you have to solve the equation that's left. So add 1 to both sides, gives you 2x equals 9, and then divide by 2 to get 9/2. Again, you do not have to do step 4, no plugging in necessary. All right, so turn the page. The next thing that we are going to do is just try to walk through some of these. We are going to do one of them together, and then I'm going to have you try 2 of them on your own. So let me switch over here to some place where I can write. So we are in lesson 25-4. And together we are going to do the try these AB part A. So the equation is 4 plus x minus 1 to the 1/3 power equals 2. All right, so first thing I want to do here is remember that the 1/3 power is the same thing as a cube root. So I'm just going to rewrite this into cube root of x minus 1. All right, so now step 1 is to get the radical by itself. So in this case, that means I need to subtract 4 on both sides. So cube root of x minus 1 equals -2. Step 1 is now done because the radical is alone. So step 2 is to cube both sides of the equation. So cube the left side, cube the right side. On the left side, I've got x minus 1. On the right side, notice the placement of the parentheses. This means -2 times -2 times -2, which is -8. If you type it into your calculator without the parentheses like this, in this case, it might give you the right answer, but remember that there will be cases of exponents where it doesn't, so get in the habit of typing it in the right way. So now, step 3 is to isolate the variable, get the unknown by itself. So again, this is what I'm talking about. It's linear. All I have to do to finish that is to add 1. So x equals -7 is my solution. Again, there is no step 4, so you do not have to show plugging it back in to check. All right, hopefully that makes sense. I would like for you to try 2 problems on your own. You're going to do the try these AB part B, which is 7 cube root of 2x plus 5 equals 21. And then you're going to do the CYU part 1A, which is cube root of x minus 1 equals 5. All right, so go ahead, pause the video because this is going to take you a couple minutes. So pause the video, take the time to try to work through these within your groups. Once you've taken a couple minutes and we've got people to a good place, then press play again so you can hear my explanation and check your answer. All right, so first thing you should have done, step 1, get the radical alone, is to divide by 7. So that gives you cube root of 2x plus 5 equals 3. Next step, cube both sides. Cube, cube. So over here, that just gives me 2x plus 5 because the cube root and the cube undo each other. Over on the right side, 3 cubed is 27. So step 3 now, isolate the variable. So subtract 5 gives me 2x equals 22, and then divide by 2 to get a final answer of x equals 11. On the CYU 1A, radical's already alone, so that saves you a step of work. You can go straight to cubing both sides, gives you x minus 1 equals 5 cubed is 125. Only other step to get x by itself is to add 1, so x equals 126. You will need to refer back to this in your homework, so it's really important that you have this written down in your book so that you can refer back to it within the homework. All right, hopefully we're good on that. I want you to turn back to page 397 because not only are we going to solve these algebraically, but we're also going to solve them graphically. So if you look at 397, example B, it goes through the steps again that we've already reviewed in 25-2, and that is how to use a graphing calculator to solve a cubic equation. So it's the same equation as what's here in example A. So 4 cube root 2x minus 1 minus 5, and then equals 3. So notice these steps. Refer back to them in your homework if you need to. Step 1, enter the left side of the equation as one function. So meaning into your y1, you're going to type in the left side of this equation. So you would type in 4 cube root 2x minus 1 and then minus 5. That's the left side. That would go in y1. Then the right side, which is just 3, would go in your y2. So that's step 1. Step 2 is to find the point of intersection. So this one you don't actually have to type in. I'm going to have you try one here in a second. But this one you don't actually have to type in because we can see the graph here. So this is the graph of y2, the y equals 3. This is the cube root part that you can see in a standard window. We're finding the point of intersection. Remember that we do that by doing second trace choice 5 and pressing enter 3 times. Step 3 is to just take the x coordinate because the answer isn't the ordered pair. The answer is just what x equals. So in this case, that's 4.5. So hopefully that refreshes your memory of what we do when we use our calculator. So I want you to practice using your calculator. If for some reason you don't have yours, you need to look at a neighbor. This is not your time to just sit there. So you need to look at a neighbor's if you do not have yours. All right, the function that I want you to solve graphically is this one, the CYU part 1b on page 398. So this equation right here is what you are going to solve graphically. So it's cube root of 3x minus 1 and then, sorry, I have to keep looking back, minus 6 equals negative 4. So again, pause this for a couple minutes so you can kind of help each other with your calculators and work through finding the answer. And once you think you've got something, then press unpause so you can listen to my explanation. All right, the correct answer for 1b here in the CYUs is x equals 3. So if you did not get this, here are the steps you should have taken. In your graphing calculator, in your y1, you should type in cube root of 3x minus 1, and then with a minus 6 on the outside. Please make sure that if you have the old version of the calculator where it gives you a parenthesis, that you close it before the minus 6. If you don't, it's going to think that the minus 6 is supposed to be on the inside too. So close that parenthesis. If you have the newer models, you can see what's under the radical and what's outside. But this is what goes in your y1. Your y2 is just going to be negative 4. Please remember that the negative sign and the subtraction sign are not the same. You need to use the negative sign if you want to get this right. So then you can graph it. A standard window should work fine for being able to see the graph. In your standard window then, once you can see the graph, you should have gone to second trace and then chosen intersection. When you do that, you need to move your cursor close to intersection. So the blinky thing, move it close to the intersection point and press enter 3 times. When you do that, it should say intersection at the bottom, and it tells you x equals 3, y equals negative 4. So the point of intersection is 3, negative 4. Again, the final answer is just the x coordinate. So x equals 3 is the solution. Okay, your homework tonight is going to be a little bit changed because one of the problems refers to a problem that we didn't do. So in your homework, you do not have to do number 8. So the very last problem in the 24-3 practice, you do not have to do. All right, that is all for today.